Holy crap. I don't know who the hell we think when we do something like that.
I am not Brett Cagle. I'm Eddie Law, but I am driving the ship today on Combat Connection, ladies and gentlemen, because Brett Cagle is in motherfucking Orlando doing the damn thing for PFL. Busy week for Cageside Press. Brett Cagle at PFL in Orlando. Jay Anderson in Miami for UFC 314. LFA 206 happening in Minnesota with plenty of stuff coming through your way. But first, let's talk some UFC 314, dude. UFC 314 going on this weekend. Headliner is Alexander Volkanovski and Diego Lopez fighting for the vacant featherweight title. You guys remember Ilia Topuria defeated Alexander Volkanovski for said title and then said, fuck it, I'm going up to 155, even though I'm not promised a title shot yet, as far as we know. And so now he's got a vacant belt, two guys fighting for it. Brett, are the two guys in the main event fighting for the featherweight title the right guys to be fighting for the featherweight title?
Yeah, I think so, because Alexander, he's somebody who could still headline a card, and Diego Lopez is that deserving up-and-comer. I know that Evlov's out there, and he has a win over Lopez, but for Volkanovski, he's the storyline of this. If he can come back as the aging former champion and recapture the belt, that's massive news, and people are going to tune in to see that. But Diego Lopez is an underdog right now, but Eddie, I think he's going to have my pick this weekend. He's been an absolute freight train since that loss in his debut, and looked really good against Brian Ortega. And I'm interested to see what you think about in this matchup stylistically. Volkanovski getting knocked out by the last two guys he's faced, the last one viciously by Ilia Topuria. But can he be a lower weight class style like Randy Couture, come back and reclaim the belt that he lost previously? You don't really see it lower than 155 pounds. These guys be able to reclaim that belt that they lose. A lot of the times when we're talking about Tyron Woodley and people like Kamaru Usman, for example, they lose and then, they become the gatekeeper. Is that next for Volkanovski, do you think, or is he able to get the belt back against Lopez, in your opinion?
Dude, it's hard to side with Volkanovski, right? Like you said, it doesn't happen very often. It's very difficult to lose a belt and get it back. I mean, we've seen a lot of guys, I got to get my belt back, and they don't. Charles Oliveira is still trying, right? The only one, very few have been able to do it. Brandon Moreno comes to mind off the top of my head. Brandon Moreno comes to mind. The thing about Volkanovski is the damage. Like you said, two losses in a row, both TKO finishes, right? But let's bring it back a little bit. 2022, the fourth time Volkanovski defended the title against Max. This time against Max Holloway. I want to say it was like the second or third time they fought. Takes him by unanimous, defends his title. Great, cool. Jumps up just a few months later, UFC 284 against Islam Makhachev, right? And loses the decision on that one. Okay, fine. Decision, not too much damage. It is what it is. He actually has some really good exchanges on the ground with Islam. Comes back, finishes Jair Rodriguez to unify the featherweight title, remains champion, and then challenges Islam Makhachev for the 55 title. Head kick, finished on the ground, right? Comes back just a handful of months later after getting finished in a nasty way. Ilia Topuria puts him down in the second round. And that's when I thought, this is it. It's over. There's no more. Volkanovski's not going to be a champion ever again. And takes over a year off, comes back, doing it the right way. But at 30 fucking 6 years old? Yeah, 36 years old? Hard to do. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. This would be like this would be a historic, kind of like Randy Couture or somebody like that. Something that would cement his legacy as a Hall of Famer at this weight class. But, I'm disappointed because Ilia Topuria is my favorite fighter. I think he's the most violent fighter right now on the pound-for-pound list. I'm interested to see what happens to him when he goes up to 155. Is it going to be Oliveira? Is it going to be an immediate title shot? I would have liked to have seen him fight Lopez. I would have liked to have seen him fight Mosvar as well. What was your opinion of Lopez getting this shot over Mosvar, Eddie? And like you asked me the question, I think these guys are the right two? Do you think these guys are the right two? And are you going to go with Lopez this weekend? I've got him by knockout in the 3rd round.
Okay. Have you ever been to Miami?
No.
Okay. I've never been to Miami, but I've been to a lot of other spots that are party spots. You know what I didn't do? Go somewhere that was going to bore the shit out of me. You do not headline UFC 314 in Miami with Movsar Wet Blanket Evloev. He can talk all he wants to about, I'm the best, I'm this, I'm that, blah, blah. Nobody wants to fight me because you bore us to death, dude. Holy crap. Like, I have zero problems with a grappler, right? Or even a wrestler, like a hardcore wrestler that wrestles and grapples to get to advanced position to find the finish. Movsar Evloev hugs and don't hit me, bro, and hugs and holds down and just hangs out and tries to listen to your heartbeat, gives you a nice little hug like a Care Bear, all that kind of bullshit. But he's not exciting. There's zero excitement. Ask anybody. I guarantee you, nobody outside of Russia thinks Movsar Evloev's an exciting fighter.
I saw a meme on Instagram, and it says every Movsar Evloev finish in the UFC, and then it just cuts to a blank screen. Just goes black.
That's it. Compare. Okay. Movsar Evloev's fights to Diego Lopez, making it to a title fight in 6. It took him 6 fights. 6 fights. Why? Because Diego Lopez comes to fucking scrap. That dude does not care. He's coming to scrap. Okay. And Yair Rodriguez, I get it. I get it, Yair. You mad because you're not Diego. Don't get off because you get support from Mexico. Go ahead.
So stylistically, when we look at this one, a lot of length on the side of Lopez. Sure. I think that he's going to be able to maybe get the better of Volk on the feet. If Volk does try and take this to the ground, Lopez is very dangerous there as well. We saw that in his fight with Mosvar. Eddie, what do you think the path to victory is for Volkanovski? Is it making Lopez fight off the back foot and being the aggressor, kind of like he was in his prime when he was going against Korean Zombie and people like that? What do you think that Volkanovski's path is here? Because Diego Lopez is dangerous, whether it's standing or on the ground.
He's got to do it against Brian Ortega. He's got to grapple. He can't. Coming off 2 knockouts, you cannot stand at the end of Diego Lopez's range. Now, Diego dangerous on the ground, 100%. Okay, but if you're asking me, right, if I'm Alexander Volkanovski, 36 years old, taking a bunch of damage, got knocked out twice in a row already, especially with the one against Ilya, which is scary. Okay, hell, but they were both scary. The head kick knockout or the head kick drop was wild to me. But if you're telling me stand in front of that guy or wrestle with him, grapple with him, I'm taking his ass down as fast as I can. Take him down, beat him up on the ground as much as you can. Brian Ortega almost had, I was at that fight at 306, I think it was in Vegas. That was the same card as Nick Diaz's return, unfortunately, against Robbie Lawler. But Brian Ortega had him in a guillotine. It was tight as shit. And this little bald fucker popped his head out. Okay. It was tight. We thought it was over. Everyone in the arena thought it was over. We were waiting for the tap. Or we went to go to sleep. When he popped his big ass head out under Brian's arm, we're like, what the hell? That's what he has to do. Take him down, grind him out. Because guess what? Diego Lopez has done a lot of things in 6 fights. You know what he's never done? 5 rounds. Got some out.
Yeah, that's a great point. And, in his fight with Brian Ortega, he hit him strong in the first, and then, that fight ended up going to decision and, maybe lost a little gas late. Do you think Diego Lopez is going to be able to get Volkanovski out of there? And if not, how much of a factor will the 5 rounds play for Volkanovski? Do you think that if this gets past round 3, that's a big turning point for Volkanovski?
Yeah, absolutely. No. Here's the thing. Diego's not going to finish Alexander Volkanovski. That's very hard to do, okay? I don't see it happening. If it happens, awesome, great. We get a great fight. We get a great finish. But more than likely not going to happen. I have Diego by decision, okay? What he has to do against Alexander Volkanovski is he's got to make it a chaotic fight. Volkanovski loves to prepare. He's about as prepared as anybody can be going into a fight. And he's like game planner. And he's precise. He's detailed. Okay, and he doesn't make mistakes very often. What you have to do is create chaos in the cage and force a mistake. You can force a mistake. You can find the finish. You don't force a mistake. you're kind of leaving it in the judge's hands, which is what you don't want to do in any fight. But yeah, so you're taking Diego Lopez by knockout. I'm taking a decision, right?
Yeah. Are you surprised that he is the underdog in this one, actually? Plus money, plus 105, plus 102 on ESPN, according to, the odds makers. Are you surprised by that at all?
No. Lack of 5-round fights. Volkanovski has 5. I think almost all title fights, if not all title fights. He has 5 to Diego 0. No, to me, that's the one thing is Diego hasn't shown he has a gas tank. I think he will show he has a gas tank. I think he's ready for it, but no one's seen it. So the odds make sense to me.
Yeah.
So anyway,
both moving on. The underdog though.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. We'll see what happens, man. We'll get a new champion. Well, new champion no matter what. Yeah. Co-main event: Michael Chandler taking Paddy Pimblett. Paddy Pimblett getting his biggest test of his career. I'm trying to say this in a nice way as possible. On paper, okay. Maybe not on paper. On aura. No. On.
Legacy. I don't know what else. It adds the most value to his career. It's legacy-wise.
Bro, it's on name, dude. Michael Chandler's beating 2 guys in the UFC, and one of them was Tony Ferguson. And he got lucky throwing up a front kick up to the chin. Yeah. There's nothing there, all right? What Michael Chandler is a great marketer because he annoys the fuck out of everybody and makes everyone think, I see you at the top. Everyone wants to see Michael Chandler get knocked out. That's what he does. He gives the crappy catchphrases, the Hallmark greeting card bullshit, the PC everything, and then he gets to the cage and he fish hooks motherfuckers. Come on, dude. Come on, what are we doing? Right? Yeah. So there you go. But Paddy Pimblett, man, what do you think about Paddy Pimblett's rise? Do you think do you think he's going to be able to get past the power of Michael Chandler and the grappling against Michael Chandler and get a win? Or are we going to see Michael Chandler find this one and either probably Conor McGregor again? Jesus Christ, why would you do that? Or maybe even do something even better.
So Chandler has been facing the elite of the elite, no doubt about it. 2 losses to Charles Oliveira, and then Dustin Poirier in there, Justin Gaethje as well. But I think this is a little bit step down in competition from where he's been at. But you mentioned he has wins over Tony Ferguson and Dan Hooker. So this is really going to tell me a lot about Michael Chandler and what he's got left in the gas tank. Now, do I think Paddy Pimblett is going to be able to finish Michael Chandler on the ground? That's hard for me to believe considering that Charles Oliveira had him on the ground for a significant portion of time in their fight, did not finish him. That fight ended up going the distance, and Michael actually looked good in that 5th round, even though he, you mentioned some cheap shots, but to the back of the head there in that Oliveira 5th round, that happened for Michael Chandler. But I don't know if Paddy's going to be able to finish Chandler on the ground because Charles wasn't able to do it, over their 5-round fight. And he had him in some really bad positions. But Michael Chandler, to me, if he doesn't get him out of there in the 1st round, I see this one going to Paddy Pimblett by points. I think Paddy's young enough, quick enough to box Michael Chandler after that 1st round with a good jab and maybe out-volume him on the feet and also, prove dangerous on the ground with elbows and submission attempts if it does go there.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's a finish here unless it's Chandler. Now, if Paddy Pimblett finishes Chandler, let me check his record real quick, but I want to say he's the first guy to do it in a long time. Am I right on that?
Finish Chandler?
Oh, my bad. Oh, never mind. Michael Chandler. My bad. Everyone finished Michael Chandler. Charles Oliveira did it. Patricia Pitbull did it. Dustin Poirier. Okay, my
Poirier
bad.
In 2022.
Yeah,
he's the last guy.
Yeah, I take it all back. He can finish Michael Chandler. He can finish Michael Chandler. Gets to the ground. I don't think on the feet. I don't think he wants to stand on the feet with Michael Chandler. The one thing I know about Paddy Pimblett is he's a left hook machine in terms of he likes to eat the fucking left hook constantly.
Is this 3 or 5 rounds, Eddie?
It's I think it's 5. It is 5.
Wow.
So that's interesting too.
It is.
Okay. We'll see what happens here, man. Who are you picking?
I'm going to take Paddy Pimblett by points. I mean, 5 rounds, he could get him by submission at some point. It's going to be interesting to see the cardio of Pimblett. Chandler, in his last fight went 5 rounds, and he's a great athlete, freak of nature. I think that sometimes the fight IQ of Chandler leads him astray. And Paddy Pimblett's really has that killer instinct. And if Chandler does make a mistake, Patty can capitalize on that. But I think I'm going to go with Pimblett here. If he goes and makes this 25 minutes, I just have a hard time believing that the judges aren't going to go his way.
Okay. Yeah, I'm taking Patty. I'm taking Patty on this one. I'm taking my finish. If Michael Chandler gets finished here, what's next for him?
You got him by sub or knockout?
Ooh. I'm going to go sub.
Sub. I can see it happening. What's next for who, Patty?
No, Chandler if he loses.
I mean,
do you call it Connor? If you're Mike, you go, yeah, you got it. I know I just lost for the millionth time, but you want to fight, bro?
Yeah, that's really desperate at that point. And
desperate.
I don't know what's Connor supposed to come back for, to fight Michael Chandler, and then what's next for Connor. So I don't really know what purpose that would serve for either of them, honestly. But I think that Chandler's on the, nearing the end of his career. And if he goes out there and has a bad loss, who knows? Like Bobby Green just had to Patty Pimblett, who knows? Maybe he calls it a career and that's that. And he rides off into the sunset. But we've both got Patty Pimblett here. And does the 5 rounds, does that mean anything to you? Do you think Michael Chandler has better cardio than Patty Pimblett from what you've seen so far?
It means nothing to me, man. It really means nothing. It's all good. It's just they're gonna scrap going and everything. The way Patty fights, it's he's got a good mind for the game, right? Michael Chandler just kind of spams. It's like, I'm not trying to diss Michael Chandler. He's a great fighter. He's just not who everyone thinks he is. I just don't believe he is. But he's a kid with the controller playing Mortal Kombat, just hitting the same damn combo over and over again, hoping it lands. That's how it is.
Do you think in that first round that he's going to give Patty some trouble, though? Because he does come out aggressive, early, explosive guy. Even, almost knocked out Oliveira in their first fight for the title. Do you think Patty Pimblett really has to, mind his P's and Q's there in that first 5 minutes?
He cannot get hit. You cannot get hit in the first round. I mean, because at the very worst, you get knocked out in the first round. At best, you get damaged, and then you got to deal with that damage for the next 4 rounds. You don't want to have to do that against Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler's a bad motherfucker. I mean, you got to do what Tony did. Remember what Tony did? Tony, stick and move, stick and move, stick and move. Force Michael Chandler to throw a technique he doesn't even practice very much. And he just got lucky it landed. And that was Tony Ferguson. Folks, Tony Ferguson. Not old school El Cucuy. Just regular old Tony from next door. And even he got lucky finishing that dude. So is what it is. Speaking of Conor, real quick. Speaking of Conor, they asked our very own Jay Anderson asked Michael Chandler about Conor McGregor running for president. Check it out.
Their name that you're constantly, kind of linked to is obviously Conor. Just a quick one on that. What do you think of his presidential bid for Ireland?
I think you should vote. I think you should vote for Conor McGregor for president of Ireland if you're a resident of Ireland. No, I mean, I don't know. You don't know what's up with, what Conor's thinking. He's got, you talk about me burnout and busy and whatnot. I mean, that guy's got his hands in 1,000 different things, for better or worse. So I think, we'll see what happens. It could just be a political stunt. It could just be for attention. Not a bad move if it is, and we'll see.
So there you go. Vote for Conor McGregor, apparently, says Michael Chandler. So that's a fun little tidbit there from Media Day. Happened today, UFC 314. All that stuff available on our socials and our youtube.com/@Cageside Press. So basically, just hit subscribe and you get that shit automatically. So yeah. In terms of the odds, did you already look at the odds? So
yeah, I believe Michael Chandler is a slight favorite.
The UFC has him as a slight underdog.
Or underdog, yeah. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Minus 155 for Pimblett is what I've got.
If you're a betting man, if you're a betting man, who you put money on in this one?
I just don't see, I don't see Patty losing at this rate. I think that he's somebody the UFC's got a lot of stock in. I think this is a perfect matchup for him. He's got the height. He's a hard guy to take down. He's got good takedown defense. I don't know if Chandler is going to be able to put him on his back as easily as some people think. On the feet, people are always talking about how Patty Pimblett leaves himself open. He can take a punch as well. Now, you don't want to take a bunch of big shots early like we've been talking about with Michael Chandler, but I think Patty's pretty smart. I think at times he's going to be able to get reversals when Chandler goes for takedowns. He's going to threaten front chokes and eventually reverse him and take his back and stuff like that, like Charles did. Do I think he finishes Chandler? I don't know. but he's looked really good against a lot of really good grapplers in the past. So I don't believe anybody had submitted Jordan Levitt before he did, and he went in there and did that. And that, different level here, obviously, with Michael Chandler. And this is the biggest test of Pimblett's career, no doubt about it. But if I think this is the biggest, opportunity for Pimblett as well. If he wins this, he goes and fights somebody, like a Justin Gaethje or possibly, for a title. We've seen guys like Steve Erceg fight as number 10 ranked guy for the title. So the UFC in various times, can shake it up. So Pimblett's a massive name and somebody that's going to sell out a fight night or be a title contender in the future. So I'm going to go with Pimblett and his stock. I think he's on the rise, and Chandler at 38 years old. I don't really know what he has left to fight for. And that disappointment of losing that Conor fight, I think is kind of, maybe has deflated him, but we'll see.
Man, it feels like the biggest fumble ever to sit there and waste how many ever years it was waiting for that dude. So it's what it is. Moving on. Another fight to talk about here. Okay, let's talk about this one because this is a big
Pitbull.
Pitbull, Patricio Pitbull making his UFC debut, taking against Yair Rodriguez, a former featherweight champion. What do you think? Because look at just on the records alone. Okay, over 40 fights to Patricio Pitbull, just over 20 for Yair Rodriguez. The experience factor quite clearly on Pitbull. What do you think happens in this fight, and who you picking?
All right, so in this one, Patricio Pitbull doesn't like to take the fight to the ground. He does have good submissions if the fight gets to the ground. Has a good guillotine and things like that. But I see it like this: Patricio Pitbull is going to come right at him, but that's what Yair really wants. Is he going to be playing into the game of Yair Rodriguez, where Yair gets to use his length with those damaging body kicks and front kicks and the great jab that Yair Rodriguez has, the stabbing front kicks he throws to the body? We've seen Patricio Pitbull kind of get picked apart by Sergio Pettis. Now, Yair Rodriguez is a very different and longer and maybe more dangerous version of Sergio Pettis, on the feet, and more finishing potential as well. Now, Yair Rodriguez hasn't looked like the Yair Rodriguez of old recently, and Patricio Pitbull did look good against Jeremy Kennedy as well, and Jeremy looked good against Movled, but the length in this one, I think, is the story, Eddie. Is Patricio Pitbull going to be able to get inside the long limbs of Yair Rodriguez, who's 5'11", at 145 pounds here? So, Patricio Pitbull is going to come in here, and he knows this is legacy. He's thought of as the greatest Bellator fighter of all time, wants to be up there with the Fedor Emelianenkos and his heroes of the sport, as well, and the Vanderlei Silvas. So, what he's got to do is come in here and get rid of Yair Rodriguez, and he's already talking about title shot. He's already about talking about fighting the winner of the main event. So the sky's the limit for Pitbull with a win, but with a loss, it's going to be interesting to see, how many fights he gets and what that looks like with his career moving forward. I think this is Pitbull's fight to win, Eddie, but like I said, stylistically, I think some things play into the hand of Yair Rodriguez. What do you think?
I just think the experience factor is going to be huge for Patricio Pitbull, but can he physically? Here you go, buddy. Can he physically put up with Yair's style? Yair's funky kicks, flying techniques, speed, the funky elbows like the one he dropped, knocked out Korean Zombie the little last second with. All that kind of stuff, but he's seen it. He's seen everything. I don't know if he's seen an attack like Yair's. I think Pitbull's going to come in, do everything correct like he's always done, and I think Yair's going to get him. Unfortunately, I think Yair's going to get him. Pitbull's going to go back to the drawing board, and I think we're going to see Pitbull have not changing weight classes, okay, but he's going to have, in my opinion, an Aldo type resurgence where he goes away for just a little bit, just a tiny bit, and then comes back and starts, fighting a little differently. So we'll see, man. I'm just excited to see Pitbull out of PFL and in UFC against some of the best in the world. Go ahead.
This has the potential to be a really explosive fight, maybe fight of the night. Do you think that somebody's going to get a finish in this one? Both these guys are so tough and dangerous. Do you see this just being like a blood and guts war that goes the distance? What do you think? What do you think this plays out? Why entertainment wise?
I think it's gonna be a good one. I think it's gonna be fire. I don't think Pitbull did not show up to the UFC to be boring. Let's just get that out of the way. Yair Rodriguez has never been boring. This has everything you need for a fight of the night type performance or a finish of the night type of performance. So we haven't had a fight of the night in about 4 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever it's been. We've had all performances because fights haven't really met the hype on this one. But I think this one will. I got this one as to me this is going to be one of those sneaky fights. So what does Dana do? The whole if you don't know now you know. I think this is going to be one of those that he's going to call out Rodriguez Pitbull. I think we're going to get a badass fight in this one. But I got Yair Rodriguez by knockout.
So Rodriguez has lost his last 2 fights, but comes into this one as the favorite. Pitbull at +160. Can you scroll down and see what they currently have it at? I have the
none. They don't have odds on this one.
They have it on ESPN as +160 for Pitbull, -190 for Yair Rodriguez. I'm going to go with Pitbull in this one. I mentioned, the length and athleticism of Yair, but he, didn't really look the greatest against Brian Ortega. Also lost, badly to Volkanovski as well. We haven't seen him at his best in a long time. Him at his best, I think, is a very bad problem for Pitbull. Pitbull with the rest, with the time off, only fighting, I believe, once last year against Kennedy. I think that Pitbull is going to be a real revitalized version of himself and come back with a point to prove. But I think the UFC threw him to his toughest test, potentially out of the gate, just due to the length problems, of these guys. If he was sitting there against somebody like a Gene Silva or somebody like a Topuria, who's also explosive and smaller in this weight class, I think that that's very competitive matchups. But when he's sitting here with a guy who's 6 inches taller than him or 5 inches taller than him, this might be the worst matchup for him out of the gate. But I'm going to go Patricio Pitbull by decision here, but I think it's potential for fight of the night.
There you go. All right. So Pitbull has faced another man on this card before. And Jay Anderson asked Michael Chandler about Pitbull's arrival to the UFC.
Another name that's going to appear on this card that you have some history with, obviously, and that's Patricio Pitbull. Just curious, how do you think he does in the UFC, and how do you think he does against Yair?
No idea. You never know. I mean, you asked me, is Patricio a competitor? Is he a championship level competitor? Absolutely. Is he violent? Is he dangerous? Does he live it? Absolutely. I'm not going to speak for Patricio, but I'm sure there were many, many moments where he watched a UFC on a Saturday night or came to a media day with one of his guys he was cornering and wished he was here. And now he gets the opportunity, just like I did a couple years ago, and I wish him the best. We just saw each other in the lobby, shook hands a little bit, tried to squash the beef a little bit. He and I have some history. But, man, we'll never fight again. I wish him the best, and we'll watch on Fight Night and see how it comes out.
So there you go, Michael Chandler speaking about his former rival, I guess, Patricio Pitbull. I forgot they had. I forgot that he had said some stuff about Patricio and his brother Patricky before. So I was like,
well, knocked his brother out cold and then did either a throat slash or some type of point, and Patricio basically came over the cage and then knocked him out badly in Madison Square Garden, I believe.
Yeah. So I didn't know there was beef until I had to go back and think about it. I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. All right. We'll talk about this is the last one we'll talk about, then we'll just glance over the rest of them, just go over them.
You said Yair by knockout though?
I had Yair by knockout, yeah. Who'd you have? Yeah, Pitbull by what?
Decision.
Gotcha. All right. Another fight that's interesting, and it's honestly, I'm not sure. I don't want to call it the real main event because the last 4 fights we talked about could be real main events, but this is a good one. Bryce Mitchell against John Silva. Bryce Mitchell thinking that he was dating demons, and John Silva trolling him about the world being around and demons and angels. So this is an interesting fight. I'm excited to see John Silva get in there against a very experienced grappler. Right? I know John Silva can grapple too, but with everything Bryce Mitchell's carrying with him right now, I feel like this is gonna be the most watched fight on the entire card. How do you think this one goes, and who are you leaning towards?
So we just saw a similar matchup to this last weekend, I think, with Pat Sabatini and Joe Anderson Brito. Everybody's like, oh, Joe Anderson Brito is going to come in here. He's going to go knock Pat Sabatini out. Sabatini's not strong enough to get him to the ground. Sabatini went in there and literally, Eddie, I believe, had the most control time in a 3-round fight in UFC history. He had he had 13 or 14 minutes of control time in that fight. But, is Bryce Mitchell going to be able to do the same thing against Gene Silva? Very dangerous guy in Gene Silva from what we've seen. Knocked out Melsik Baghdasaryan, has looked good. Beat Drew Dober up a weight class at 155. Mitchell coming off a bad knockout loss to Emmett, who lost last weekend to Lerone Murphy. So the story of this fight to me is striker versus grappler. Gene Silva is going to want to stay and keep this one on the feet. We've talked in the past in recent Gene Silva matchups. He's like an 145-pound Wanderlei Silva. He just comes at you aggressively from the start, foot on the gas, trying to get you out of there with punches. Is Bryce going to be able to get this guy to the ground and work the jiu-jitsu and try and find a submission? Or is Gene Silva going to come in here and steamroll Bryce Mitchell and knock him out for the second consecutive fight? What do you think, Eddie? I got to go with Gene Silva. I think he's going to knock Bryce Mitchell out in round 2. I think Bryce is going to show, some good moments there in round 1, probably force the fight to the cage and survive for the first 5 minutes. But this guy's real dangerous at all times. And Bryce is going to have to get a lot of takedowns, in my opinion, to have success in this one.
Yeah, no, I think I'm curious about how much Bryce Mitchell really is focused on this. He said, he said to Jay, and I know Jay asked him about it. He said to Jay that he's fully focused on this one, but he didn't look it at all. Right? Like if you watch his entire media day, for example, like he was like, okay, this and that, whatever, and then he seemed like, especially when they started asking him about the comments that he's made recently, which we'll play a clip here in a minute of how he responded to some questions about that. And it just seems like he's not there. He's not in there for it. So I think that's a problem against a guy like John Silva, who's a killer. I also have a hard time believing that the Fighting Nerds don't already have a great plan to beat the dog shit out of Bryce Mitchell and win that fight by finish. I think, like I said, every time we talk about the Fighting Nerds, to me, the one thing that comes to mind is Kyle Bahayo and that ability as a team to create a ridiculously effective game plan. And I think this was going to happen. He's got a game plan to beat Bryce Mitchell. I think he's gonna Josh Emmett his ass second round.
Yeah, no one stopped him yet from protest to Mo Huffy at 155. These guys have been getting wins all over the place. Barallo himself at middleweight. We haven't seen him stopped yet. Is Bryce Mitchell going to be the man to do it this weekend? It's going to be very interesting. What do we got for the odds here? Ooh, big favorite for Silva, minus 260, almost 3-1. Eddie, I just talked about the matchup last weekend with Pat Sabatini and Brito. That was, similar odds, maybe even more. I believe Brito was over 3-1, and Sabatini goes in there and looks great. Similar style matchup in this one. Do you think that Bryce Mitchell could go in here and surprise odds makers and pull off the upset as the underdog?
Could he? Yes. Will he? No. But he could. I mean, I've been wrong a million times. No matter, right? But we've seen a lot of guys that come in, with a lot of baggage and a lot of stress and a lot of this and that, and come in and coming off. Not coming. I think Bryce coming off a win, but coming off like a damaged, really high damage fight, like the one he fight against Emmett, and come back and win. So I mean, could he? Sure, but I just don't really, see it. I don't see it happening. So, again, we know what's happened with Bryce Mitchell lately, and it's not anything anyone's surprised about. But Jay Anderson did have some questions for him today at Media Day, and you can see the way he changes when he gave some of these answers.
This last month, you got quite the negative reaction from the crowd. Are you a little more prepared now if you get that same reaction tomorrow, and are you kind of embracing that role at all?
Absolutely, brother. These people are coming out, they're making noise, and regardless if they love me or hate me, they're in the seats watching, so I appreciate that. All the fans know that I appreciate them.
Not going to sugarcoat it. You brought a lot of this on yourself with your comments, and Dana obviously reacted, called you one of the dumbest people. But like was said earlier, he did give you a platform. Through all of this, what have you learned through the past month or so?
I've learned to be totally fearless. No man controls me or controls what I say, and my research on history is up to me, and no man determines what my thoughts and my opinions are, or how I raise my son, and what is taught in my household. And for me and my household, we will serve the Lord.
And then I guess building off of that, yesterday or earlier this week, actually, you posted a clip kind of giving your views on gays and in vitro fertilization and saying they shouldn't be parents. When you're posting something like that, has any of this caused you to stop and think, man, maybe I shouldn't post this. Maybe I'm going to get another firestorm?
Therefore, whosoever is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, so too shall the Son of Man be ashamed of him in the presence of the Father and the holy angels.
And then last one for me, with all the commotion, all the controversy, have you been able to focus on this fight and focus on Gene Silva?
I'm fully focused, brother.
There you go. There you go. Does that seem like a man that's fully focused, brother, at all?
I want to know if that's a real Bible verse. If that's an actual Bible verse, I'm impressed. If he was coming up with his own Bible verses there, or his own, sayings or something, then but if that's an actual verse out of the Bible,
yeah, I have no idea.
I'm fully focused if that's a verse.
I got you on that, yeah, but
no, but yeah, I think that he's a guy who's really high strung and high wired. Like, everybody's built different. And he's going to say whatever he wants regardless. And I think he knows he's up against it, against Silva. A lot of stress from that, a lot of, negative publicity recently from, what he said. But guys like him and guys like Sean Strickland are going to say what they want no matter what. So it's not, you're not going to, by asking someone something, you're not going to force them to not say something in the future. You're maybe just gonna force him to say more, honestly, based off that personality. But Bryce is allowed to say whatever he wants, and agree with it, disagree with it. It is what it is. But a lot of people have been calling this good versus evil. Eddie, what do you make of the comments and that he gave to Jay? And do you see this as like a matchup that fight fans are really excited for? Calling it like good versus evil and stuff like that.
Well, first of all, I have no issues with the Bible verse. Hey, man, put that out there, man. Look, if there's nothing wrong with being religious. There's nothing wrong with believing in something. There's nothing wrong with quoting Bible verses, all that kind of stuff. To me, what's important about that clip is the way his demeanor changes completely when his own comments are brought up to him. Okay, that wasn't a reaction of, how do I put it? Like, I thought about this before. That was I'm doubling down, and how dare you ask me about it? You see, he clenching his jaw, starts moving like this, doing this kind of shit. Like, that is not a man that's focused. That is not at all a man that's focused at all, in my opinion. So,
do you think it's someone who's kind of mad and sick? Every time he goes into an interview, they're asking him, "Oh, Bryce, the comments." When he flew out to California, and I think he got thrown off Rampage's podcast by the co-host there. Every time he goes somewhere, he's hearing about it. So, do you think he's just kind of frustrated? He's continually hearing about it, but that's brought on, obviously brought on by the comments that he's made. It's going to bring that attention. So, do you think he just needs to kind of suck it up and understand that the comments bring attention, or what do you think about that?
I mean, I don't know, dude. End of the day, first of all, on the good versus evil thing, that's just fans being dumb. I mean, there's no good or evil here. It doesn't really matter. But a lot of people are still upset about Bryce's comments. You know what I mean? And one man that's very upset about it is Kevin Iole, former Yahoo Sports writer. Now he writes for himself. I don't know what he does, but I take issue with something he wrote today. He wrote an article going on Bryce Mitchell and everything, and he took issue with no one in the media. Look, you saw the clip. It was very clear what Jay was asking him about, right? Like, you got it, right? You understood. You know what Bryce said. You got the gist of what exactly it is. Kevin Iole was upset that no one said the words Adolf Hitler. That's what he was mad about. He was upset that no one in the media said the words Adolf Hitler. Kevin, buddy, you can get UFC credentials, dog. Take your ass in there and ask him about Adolf Hitler if you want to.
I don't know how old Kevin is anymore. And
800 years old, okay? And so you can go back out there and go yell at the kids playing on your lawn, Kevin.
Eddie, I'm out here in Orlando. I'm 26 years old. It's hard to cover this event for 2 weeks in a row, like not, being at home, sleeping in your own bed, all that stuff. It's like, I mean, it's difficult. So I can't imagine at his age going and the schedule he used to have, being there every single week, regardless of where they're at. He probably just needed some time off and stuff like that. But
hey, he hasn't been in a media room in forever. Okay, in forever. Again, it's not about him not getting there. My whole point is you're shooting at the people that went. You didn't go. Why you know what I mean? You could have gone, and you have the ability to go. You didn't go. Okay, maybe call Bryce. That's for an interview and mention the words Adolf Hitler. That's what I'm saying. It's just it bothers me when other reporters, take cheap shots. To me, it's lame. It's fucking lame. And then he goes after somebody else, and I know who it was, for asking Bryce Mitchell about Aaron Pico signing with the UFC. So it is what it is. All right. Wrapping up UFC 314. Nikita Krylov against Dominic Reyes. Big fight for Dominic Reyes for sure, for both men, but definitely for Dominic Reyes, who still can, in my opinion, make a title run. This is a badass fight. I was talking about Dan Ige and Sean Woodson. Two of the best.
Who do you got in the? I got Krylov in that fight. I think Nikita Krylov gets this one done by knockout or points. If you guys can do that on FanDuel, you can take the double chance option there. I think that Krylov is a real dangerous guy. Dominic Reyes has been up there, has been challenged for championships. He's now fighting basically to stay in the UFC and stay relevant in contendership. Krylov is fighting for that first opportunity to get into the top 5 and get into meaningful and relevant fights. He was almost there before losing to Paul Craig. That fight really set him back a ways. But I think this guy's real dangerous on the feet. 2 southpaws, stylistically, 2 guys who like to move forward. I think this one gets done early. I don't see it going the distance, and I like Krylov by knockout in that one.
Dominic Reyes head kick knockout.
Head kick knockout.
He's gonna knock this dude's fucking head off. I'm just saying he's gonna knock his fucking head off. And here's the thing. I love watching Krylov fight because he does not back. He's fun as fuck to watch, in my opinion. I know he grapples and everything, but Nikita Krylov doesn't back up too much. What'd you say?
What do you think of the whole Cageside press crew being within like a fight of each other on our predictions?
That we're all either really bad at picking fights or really lucky.
We're over 500, but like,
yeah,
like 33 and 20.
You know what it is? I think so, folks. If you guys don't know, pulling back the curtain a little bit. On our chat, our group chat that we use there's a tab in there. It's called predictions, right? We all put our predictions in there, okay? So everyone can see everyone else's predictions. I think we might want to start doing some blind predictions here, just so we're not picking each other, copying each other's picks here, and maybe you'll get a little different result on that. But that's wild. That might be the first time that's ever happened in Cageside history, because we have like 2 or 3 guys that are like head and shoulders above everybody else. Right now, everyone's kind of in the pack. Feels like a freaking NASCAR race.
First quarter though, we're still learning the guys who just got signed off contender series too. Yeah, no, it's gonna go well. All right, and okay, let's do this. Give me quick predictions on these fights. Danny against Sean Woodson. Length versus power here. Sean Woodson. How tall is Sean Woodson? Sean Woodson's massive. 140. He's like 6'3" at 145. Am I right? 6'2". Yeah. All right. So we got a guy who's like 7 inches taller than Dan Ige, 7-inch reach advantage for Sean Woodson. We saw Luis Saldana test this guy. I thought Saldana won that fight. I think he actually had a point deducted, and that's the reason that fight was a draw. Dan Ige has stepped up in big moments. We saw him in that Vegas card. Obviously a legend of the sport, veteran, been there, been around in the top 10 before. Never obviously gotten into those title contention matchups, but in this one, I just have to go with the length of Sean Woodson. 6'2". I think he's going to use the jab from the outside, and it's going to be hard for Ige to get in there and land that powerful punch that he's known for. He's a knockout artist. He does have heavy hands. He can get the fight done in one shot, but I just don't think he's going to be able to get inside the length of Woodson in this one. I'm going to take Sean Woodson by points. What do you got, Eddie? Same thing. Dan's not gonna be able to get close. Sean's not gonna just stand there and take it either. He's gonna use his length and he's gonna move and leg kicks and everything. I think it's a really rough matchup for Dan Ige. I know Dan believes in himself. I know Eric Nix is gonna have him ready to go. But Sean Woodson, just like he said, length, too much. I got him by points as well. Yan Xiaonan against Viner Jandiroba. Jandiroba's supposed to fight for the title. Takes the fight against Yan Xiaonan. Who are you picking and why? Well, Jandiroba is a tough customer. She's hard to get out of there. She's not going to get submitted on the feet. She's not the most technical fighter in the world, but she can eat a punch. She moves forward, looks for those takedowns. Obviously, Yan Xiaonan is a good boxer. great jab, good combinations as well on the feet. I think that if Jandiroba can get her to the ground, that's where she's going to have success. If Jan can keep this one standing, then maybe she's going to out volume Verna on the feet and box her up from the outside and at distance. What do you got, Eddie? I think that maybe I'm going to go with Jandiroba by points. I think she's probably going to be physically stronger, but we saw Yan Xiaonan get taken down a couple times, in recent fights. What's your prediction for this one?
I don't have a prediction. Virna Jandiroba is going to win it because I pick against her every time and she fucking wins. So I'm going to go off the fact that I'm a jinx. So
yeah, I was going to say, I thought that that maybe Verna was a little older than Jan, but I just looked it up and Jan is 35 and Verna's 36. So, both of these women are about the same age.
Yeah, Verna goes in there, grapples, puts her on the fence, beats her up, takes her down, whatever you want to call it. But if Yan Xiaonan gets some kind of crazy knockout, I ain't going to be mad at it. So there you go. All right, next fight up, Jim Miller, Chase Hooper. We got Jim Miller and the guy that wants to be Jim Miller. Chase Hooper taking on one of the legends of the sport, a guy that has not much time left, although he does want to get to that 50 fight mark. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think this is, like you're saying, old guard versus new guard. This is a guy who's a gatekeeper that's from that, yesteryear, that veteran generation before Chase Hooper. So Chase Hooper here is going to look to make a statement and possibly pick up one of the biggest wins of his career. Miller's looked good recently, obviously had a bad loss to Bobby Green there at UFC 300, but picked up a win in his last fight. Chase Hooper is significantly bigger. We talked about the length in the Woodson and Ige fight. Both these guys are talented grapplers, and I actually think that if it stays on the feet, Miller is going to be able to get inside the length of Hooper. I don't think Hooper's technically as good as Sean Woodson as a boxer and keeping this one at distance, and I think that Miller will get inside and land some good body work that might lead to a big overhand left. But if this fight hits the ground, Chase Hooper is, submitted some of these old guys. I believe he just submitted Clay Guida, someone who's a veteran that was still hanging around as well. Miller submitted Guida himself, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens if the fight hits the floor. Miller, very technical, has submission wins. Chase Hooper, a very talented grappler himself. Who do you got in this one? I think I'm going to side with Chase Hooper. I'm going to go with him by points, but I wouldn't be surprised if Jim Miller stops his fight by knockout if Chase can't get it to the ground.
Jim fucking Miller gonna get one of us for us old guys. I like Chase Hooper. He's great. He to me just seems like he's got to improve the hands a little bit more. Even like they're all right, they're okay, they're better now than last fight. Wow, he showed he has hands a little bit, but I think Jim Miller's gonna go in there and knock him out. Honestly, now I hope it gets to the ground. I want to see what Chase Hooper and Jim Miller could do on the ground, but either way, I got Jim Miller knockout on this one. You took Chase, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Chase by.
He's a massive favorite.
Oh my God.
Massive. Holy shit.
You might have to get the wallet out for this one, Eddie.
I'm putting $5 on Jim Miller. They can eat it. I'm doing that. All right. All right. We're not going to break this down and make picks, but there's to the card. Darren Elkins against Julian Rosa. The damage with the ugliest tattoo of all time, probably.
I got a Rosa.
Yeah. So Dukes Dumas, Mikhail, Alexu, fucking alphabet, bro. Come on, Mikhail.
I got Mikhail.
You got Mikhail. Okay. So I got Elkins. I got Mikhail. Sumu Darji against Mr. Pozo. I'm taking the dude Sumu Darji.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Sumu Darji as well.
Sumu Darji. I don't even know how to fucking say that shit. Trayshawn Gore against Mackenzie Dern's boyfriend. Mackenzie Dern's, not Mackenzie Dern's boyfriend. Marco Tulio's
Norma Dumont.
Thank you. There was a big group chat thing, not for Cageside, but with some of my friends. These assholes thought they actually had a chance with Norma. That makes no sense. Anyway,
Tulio.
Yeah, Tulio. I'm taking Tulio as well. I think Trayshawn Gore is going to find his way out of here. And then Nora Cornell against Haley Cowan. Give me Nora by elbows.
No. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
All right. Nora by elbow. Nora Cornell is a nasty, nasty one. UFC 314 going down this Saturday night from Miami, Florida. Jay Anderson on location for. Now let's talk about the event you're at very quickly, or the event you were at last week very quickly. But talk about a couple fights here. Obviously not the most exciting event, right? I mean, PFL be PFL, so we're gonna talk about a couple fights here. What did you think of Jesus Pinheiro getting the TKO finish over Adam Borix?
Man, He made a statement in his return.
Hell yeah, you did.
And he said, I asked him at the media day, said, what version of you are you going to come back with? Fight fans haven't seen you for a year and a half. He said, if you thought the 2023 version of Pinedo was good, wait till you see this weekend. Goes in there and stops a guy like Adam Borics, who was very determined, came in there to win. His career was, on a good path. I believe he was 19-2 or 19-3 coming into the fight. And Pinedo got rid of him early. Now, I was talking to my dad about it. My dad actually watched the fight, and I said, he's like, man, what happened there? I said, I think Borics kind of got into a fight with a gunslinger. He got into a brawl with a gunslinger. The first time that Borics hit Pinedo, I think that he got a sense of confidence, like, oh, okay, I hit Pinedo. Pinedo might be a little rusty here on the feet. Then Pinedo came back and rocked him. At that point, he starts shooting for takedowns, and it's too late then. Returned to his feet and got hit with a big punch there. I think that Borics came out ready to fight, but he didn't test the grappling of Pinedo at all. And Pinedo's gone in there and stopped guys like Braga, stopped guys like Brendan Loughnane, in big money fights and with a lot of pressure on the line in the past. And it was, I thought that Borics was a little disappointed with his performance, and I think he could have performed better than that if they rematch in a tournament down the line. But Pinedo made a statement in his return, and I think Borics, caught him clean his first in one of those exchanges. And then he got into a brawl with the gunslinger and paid the price. And Pinedo's got some of the heaviest hands that we've seen in these lower weight classes. So what did you think of the return, Eddie? And are you is he the odds-on favorite for you to win at this weight class?
I mean, once Umalatov couldn't make weight, yeah. I mean,
Umalatov's the welterweight one. So this is the one.
This is featherweight. My bad. This is featherweight. Or lightweight.
That would be 145.
Yeah, featherweight. Okay. I would have him as a favorite. The way he's fighting and performing, why not, dude? And I mean, I media same thing last week, obviously. He did say I don't fight without thinking I can't win the belt. You're tripping, yeah. So basically, whatever, sum it up. But anyway, yeah, I think he's got to be the odds-on favorite. What did you think of the main event? Jason Jackson submission victory over Andre Koreshkov.
Man, I actually enjoyed these fights. I thought that Pinedo made a good return. The Kabalaya versus Kennedy fight was fantastic. Kennedy put on a great showing there. And
okay, real quick, did Kennedy get robbed? Right? It's a hard question to answer, right? Because it was close.
It's hard because he beat, respectfully, he put it on Movlid in that first round. And nobody's put it on Movlid like that. And I asked Movlid about it afterwards, and even Movlid said, man, I got hurt in that first round. I had to really come back and make a statement in those next two. And he did. He controlled the fight in the second and third round. I'd have to rewatch the fight. When I was there Cageside, I thought that it was 10-9 for Kennedy in the first. I thought that the round two was the swing round and that Kabalayev had won the third. But I could be wrong. Maybe it was Kabalayev had won the second. The swing round was the third. Were you watching this one live? And did you think that Kennedy, had gotten the wrong end of it? It was one of the closest fights and hardest fights to score that I've seen in person.
And Kennedy messed up, took his foot out the gas in the third round. Third round was the one that he got beat up, right? Like Mobley really took the third round and the second round.
I'm gonna look on. Keep talking real quick. I'm going to look on Verdict, and they're going to have the stats for me.
I had Kennedy winning the fight slightly. I thought it was going to be split, that Kennedy was going to get it. Movlid, he controlled all right, but I don't know, dude. I just wish Kennedy would have taken his foot out the gas. I felt like he did in that fight. That being said, dude, Kabayev is solid, solid option moving forward, but I just don't see him winning the whole thing. It's just going to be a tough one. But again, another reason, folks, I hate the fact that you can't leave it to the judges, but you can't leave it to the judges.
Yeah. So on Verdict, it has, at the worldwide scoring, and they had Kennedy winning the first round easily, and then Kabalayev winning the second round easily, and then the third round going to Kabalayev as well. A close fight, but the worldwide scorecards did favor. You're right, favor Movlid Kabalayev. So. I think it really came down to this. He had a significant layoff, came in there against a guy who's been active, who's been fighting at the top of the food chain, Is Jeremy Kennedy the best guy in the world? Like, not at this point, but maybe in the future he could be. But Kabalayev really had to dust himself off there early in that first round and realize that he's back in here. These guys are at a top level, and he's going to have to bring his A game at all times when he's fighting in a one-and-done tournament. But he did end up showing that championship material and getting the job done, winning the next 2 rounds. So it was very impressive performance from both guys, and I thought it was a quality fight as well.
There you go.
What do you think about the main event, though? Because I think we got to talk a little bit about Jason Jackson's fight. He put it on Andre Koreshkov in that one. Like, it was kind of bad. But Eddie, there was a stoppage for for elbows that were blatantly to the back of the head. Now, they were unintentional, but they were to the back of the head. Why was a point not deducted? Why did they rush him back? Now, I know the fight ended by submission, so it doesn't matter, and it does at the end of the day. If that's how the fight would have ended, then that's how the fight would have ended. But I just thought that Koreshkov should have been given a point there by, I believe it was Keith Peterson, who was the judge. What did you think of the back of the head shots, and how much of a factor do you think that played? Because when the fight resumed, I thought that Koreshkov was out of it on his feet almost.
Here's the thing about those legal elbows is they definitely did some damage, right? Can we agree on that? Like, they definitely did some damage. I know they weren't blatant, they weren't on purpose. Anybody was gonna. He just threw me off, bro. Now I can't remember what the fuck I was gonna say. God damn it! Because now my brain just went to like
elbows, back of the head, elbows.
My thing is as soon as you have a cheap lawn chair, I could just imagine Don Davis sitting on it, and then it folds with a minute. Anyway, yeah, look, forget all the elbows and shit. Jason Jackson looked like he was fighting Andre Koreshkov with Don Davis's face on him. There you go. That's how I'm gonna put it. And
he's fighting mad. Yeah, he's fighting mad.
He's pissed. He was fucking pissed. He was supposed to get a title shot. He told you they were supposed to get a title shot, and they pulled the rug out from under his feet.
Yeah. But hey, he's fighting a bad dude in that second round. Thad John came in there, knocked out Berkamov. Jason Jackson, the old violent, former champion versus the guy who really is looking to make a name for himself and get that statement victory so people can know him as a household name. Thad Gene coming into this one, I mean, absolutely put the lights out of Berkamov in that fight. Left hand dropped him, finished up with some nasty ground and pound, Eddie. He put his name on the map for casual fight fans. I saw this guy compete in Chicago recently. I believe it was last year. What did you think of Thad John, who came in as an alternate to this tournament and now looks like he's 2 fights away from winning $500,000 and becoming a world champion for the first time?
Thad, if you're watching or somehow this makes it to you for some fucking unforeseen reason, 2 things, buddy. 1, win the damn thing, get your money. 2, do not, under any circumstances, sign an extension with the PFL. Please, for the love of God. All right? Unless you want to get buried and not booked. That's all I'd say, because Thad Gene proved everything. And that kid took an opportunity that he got last second, and he made it fucking happen. Man, I imagine this kid goes up and wins this thing. There's no way he should be fighting for them anymore. Me personally. Unless they fix it.
Him and Jason Jackson's box office, though. He's going to come in there talking shit. Hey. He's confident. He wants to come in here and make a statement. And Jason Jackson's pissed off with a point to prove. That's going to be a great fight.
He was so mad when he was talking to you, dude. Like when you remember he had that, was like 2-3 weeks before? And he was so fucking mad. It was hilarious. Yeah, look, dude, it's gonna be a hell of a fight. I just hope PFL doesn't want to find a way to fuck it up. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's gonna be in Nashville. So I'm gonna get my tickets booked for that. But
get your Nashville, dude. Get your Nashville on. All right. Anything else you want to talk about in this fight? I know you were there for it. Are we done with Logan Storley? Can we just call it a day on Logan?
He's gonna win the tournament.
God.
Can he be
done after that? I hate
to tell you, if I could bet my entire bank account on someone to win this tournament, it's Logan Storley. He's been in so many tournaments in wrestling. The toughest test, Magomed Umatov, out. He gets hit in the mouth in like the first 10 seconds in that fight, comes back, just wrestles him. I know it's not entertaining.
No.
But at least, unlike who we're going to talk about maybe in a minute, Torres Finney, he actually gets takedowns. So he's putting people on their back, showing good wrestling. And in the next fight, I believe he fights Kim, is the guy's name, or no, Kakuri from Japan. What do you think Kakuri's takedowns defense is going to be like against All-American Logan Storley? I think Logan's going to put him on his back, and then it's whether he fights Jason or Thad Jean. If it's Thad Jean, we haven't seen him against a grappler, and then him and Jason have both been in the same promotion, fight for the same camp at Kill Cliff FC, and that's going to be a big fight, and we're going to have to see what Jason's got against somebody who's an elite wrestler as well. So I think Logan Storley has the opportunity to win a world title.
He's probably gonna win it. Honestly, he's probably gonna win it.
Yeah.
My only problem with his style is that he doesn't try to advance very much. Like once he gets to a spot, it's just little shit shots. Real clean. Okay, I'm just gonna do this for 5 fucking minutes.
If he had Tito Ortiz ground and pound, like Tito wasn't the greatest wrestler in the world, but he'd put you in full guard and just beat the dog.
He's trying to kill you.
If he had that style of ground and pound with his wrestling game, he'd be unbelievable.
You can say a lot of things about Tito Ortiz, but you can't say that he was dog shit boring. You know what I'm saying? And Logan Storley, I hate to tell you, I hate to break it to you. I know a lot of people here, I'm sure, are big wrestling fans, everything. He's dog shit boring. If he could try to pass fucking card, get this, try to find a finish. Oh, instead of what he did most of the fight behind him, lacing that one with the left leg or the right leg, and just little shots from behind. I get it. He's safe. Awesome. Great. You ain't finishing the fight right there, bro. Logan Storley does not have the power to do that. He's going to wrestle fuck this kid, and he's going to do the same thing and win it.
Yeah, I think he's going to win the tournament as well. And he's got a great team behind him, Robbie Lawler and those guys.
Yeah.
Who are all, the Militich fighting system, Circle and all of them that went into, American Top Team.
God, I miss those guys, dude. The Pat Militich guys are always fucking psychopaths.
Yeah, he's got Robbie back there. So, yeah. And
you wanted to talk about Mr. Torres Finney.
Yeah, this guy. I mean, Eddie, for the love of God, it's a fist fight. This guy lands 4 punches.
Dude.
Hey, I'm sitting there. I'm in Parrish, Florida. I go down to my grandpa. I'm visiting him. And I'm telling him that I cover fights and stuff. And he's like, "Oh, okay, I'll watch the fights with you this weekend."
You fall asleep?
First fight I turn on, Torres Finney versus Robert Valentin.
Oh God.
Like, what are we doing? I'm sitting here showing people the sport for the first time, and they're like, "You watch this every weekend? What the hell is wrong with you?" I'm like, good God, 4 strikes in a fight? Like, what's going on? And you know what, Tony Weeks, credit to you, brother, because you came in there and you scored 3 rounds for Valentin. And didn't give a shit about the takedowns because no damage was landed. You scored all 3 rounds for Valentin. Tony Weeks, the former boxing judge, went in there and said, "I'm going with damage and damage alone." Credit to Tony Weeks. I just scored the fight for Valentin as well, but the other 2 went for Torres Finney. And at the end of the day, you got to say one thing, Eddie. Dana was right. He said this kid wasn't ready. He goes in there against a guy in Valentin who was probably going to be cut and would have been cut if he would have lost to anybody else anyway. And this was a questionable fight to whether he won. It was one of the boringest in UFC history. Dana's right. And at the end of the day, people need to know that he's a great judge of talent. And what he knows, he knows. He threw him to a guy who was 6'4". And he's, you know what? Throw him to Nursultan Ruzaboyev in his next fight. See how he does with that.
I like this one better. Husimar, I never let go of leg locks. Paul Harris
is like 45, but maybe like 48.
Have you seen Paul Harris? He's on all the steroids. Fuck all that. Let's make that fight happen. Anyway, Finney fought like he didn't want to fight. That was the guy trying not to fight. He was just trying to wrestle. That's all it was. So, he's not going to get any favors from the UFC. I think he'll be one of those guys that gets cut off a win or just not re-signed. And Don Davis will sign him.
Was Dana there in the post-fight press conference last week?
As an Apex card, bro.
So he was there.
He barely shows up to big cards now.
I just wish he would have had a reaction and actually had to sit through that and then came back there pissed off. because I really think he'd have been a guy that he just, if Dana was in the building, would have cut that night, wasting his time watching him.
I think he would, but it's what it is.
One thing I was going to say about Logan Storley, that guy's all class, one of the nicest guys that I've ever seen covering the sport. He came back there, stitches in his mouth, had gotten stitched up in the back, just bad. And he had went through 10 to 15 minutes of questions, answered everything everybody asked. I just asked both my questions, doubled right to him, just like a 2-and-1, because I'm like, all right, just answer quick and get out of here, man, because your mouth was pretty messed up. So dude, credit to him for coming in there and answering questions stitched up like that with his mouth.
A lot of guys and girls won't do it. So 100%. He's a straight up like class act, 100%.
What do you think of the Emmett and Murphy fight?
I don't care.
What
I said was gonna happen happened. The Roe Murphy beat him up. It just hit and move, stick and move for 5 rounds. That's all it was. Emmett tried, but Emmett also looked old.
Yeah, I think that's it. He looked exactly. He was too old, too slow. Murphy was hit and don't get hit. He looked like a mini Floyd Mayweather. What did you think of him calling his performance a masterclass? That's what Murphy called his own performance, a masterclass. Do you think there needs to be more damage when we're talking about? I mean, these fights were bad, Eddie. We got no damage in the main event. We have Torres Finney throwing 4 fights in a. I mean, it was just bad. What do you think of the product here on some of these Apex cards and Fight Night cards? And why do you think that some of these guys are getting decision wins without doing any damage in some of these fights?
I think they bore the judges too. Have you ever seen? I don't know if you've ever seen. Okay, and you'll get your chance here pretty soon to see this yourself. But having been in there in the arena at media row or even up top at the whatever the secondary seating, when you look down, you can see the judges. I have seen judges yawn and look just dog shit bored. Okay, I could not be surprised that's what happened. That being said, this is the kind of card that I send to people that bitch about the Apex. Okay, am I an Apex fan? Not really. As media, yes, it's a great place to go as media. Right, everything's super easy. It's quiet. You can hear every shot. You can hear the corners. It's awesome. As a fan, not really. They charge way too much for what it is. If you're trying to get a ticket to the freaking Apex, and like you said, just like I said, the fights aren't good really. But this is why we have the Apex, because imagine they put this card in Des Moines. All right, would you pay for that? On paper.
Do you see what the fight in Des Moines is going for price-wise?
No.
It might be the most expensive fight in the history of the Midwest, but the card's fantastic. It's such a great card.
Replace that card with this one before it happened.
You'd have to drop the prices by a lot.
There it is, folks. This is why the Apex is good, and y'all need to relax. Because if any of you motherfuckers went out to this thing in your town,
that might be the best fight night of the year, though, Eddie.
What?
The UFC Iowa. First fight card back in Iowa in 30 years.
Stop,
Banger.
Stay on earth with me. I'm not talking about Des Moines.
Oh, no, I know. I'm saying that's a bad one to compare it to, though.
I'm not comparing it.
Because they do have – I did in St. Louis last year, they had Derek Lewis versus that Nascimento guy, and that sucked. I'm
not comparing it. It's not a comparison. Oh. I'm saying replace the entire card. Let's say just forget the entire Des Moines card. Put these fights in Des Moines. Are you paying for this?
No.
No. Are you paying the prices you just said? Because they're not lowering the prices. Are you paying the prices for this card in Des Moines? Like on paper.
I mean, I would, but I'd want to go with a friend, and they probably wouldn't.
I'm saying tickets,
no, probably not.
Beer, parking, fucking. If you want to buy, get what I'm saying?
$500 without a hotel. Plus, with the hotel, $700.
There it is, folks. Relax on the Apex. There's the reason we have the Apex for dog shit cards like this. The Iowa card is gonna be fucking nice. I know they lost Trevor Peake, but still, it's gonna be good. Still. Anything else you want to touch on before we get out of here? Oh, LFA 206. I can talk about that really quick. What's up? Oh, LFA 206 happens this Friday, April 11th. 11th, yeah, in fucking Prior Lake, Minnesota. KSRPress.com. Interviews with Jean-Paul Lebusnoyani, Stephen Asplund, and Joey Hart. It's going to be a big one, good one on UFC Fight Pass on Friday night. You got nothing else going on? Do your thing.
Yeah, I got to talk about the PFL coming up here on Friday night before the UFC as well.
I forgot there was one. Hold on a second. Go ahead.
Leandro Higo was supposed to fight Magomed Magomedov. He's going to be replaced by Josh Reddinghouse, who's been on the Ultimate Fighter, King of the Cage. He's been around, but he's facing, obviously the toughest guy of his career. And Higo, a massive blow to the tournament, losing Magomed. Sabatello went to Ryzen. No Muhammad Makayev signed, but we did talk to Jake Hadley today. Hadley is not a fan of Muhammad Makayev. He had probably the most explosive interview of anybody at Media Day today. He was really talking, about various different subjects, was opinionated about it. But Eddie, what do you think about this card, man? I mean, I was telling you off air on paper, originally it was good, but we have multiple people. Tyler Santos off the card, Magomed Magomedov off the card. It's taken a big blow. Liz Carmouche probably could have been the main event here, but Kasimov looks like a guy with potential. I haven't seen him fight in person yet. Covering PFL or Bellator, I don't believe. Maybe I have. I don't know. I've covered a lot of Bellator, but I don't know. This card isn't the greatest.
Most of these cards are so bad I wouldn't even legally stream them. It says Perez. Jesus. You know what? I think losing Santos was a crappy loss for them because it was like probably the biggest name on the card outside of Carmouche. But the card was nothing to sneeze about before. So it's a PFL card, dude. You know what I mean? This is the thing with PFL. Again, you and I talk about this all the time. Where's Dakota? Patchy Mix. They just lost Patricio. You know what I'm saying? They got fighters that can bring they can bring good fights. They don't even have them. Like Pico, you lost Pico. You can have a main event that's not part of the freaking tournament and still have your tournament. I don't understand the problem, but it is what it is. It is PFL, man. You know what I mean?
Can you scroll down to the prelims real quick?
Absolutely.
Yeah, who am I supposed to ask this week about what's going on with Aaron Pico? Why do I get press releases for executives and not for when fighters are leaving the company?
Ask Coachman when they put him in front of you.
That's what I'm gonna have to do. I think Hadley and Matos is probably the best fight on the card, other than Bishop and Watanabe. I think Bishop and Watanabe should probably be up there on the main card at this rate. But we'll see what Jake Hadley's got. I think that Matos is like 15-3. Jake's interested. I asked Jake today. I said, seeing how European fighters like Dakota and Brennan have had success in the PFL, does that give you confidence you can do it at your weight class? He said that it did, and he's interested, or he's ready to go in the tournament and stuff like that. So,
Jake Hadley, I just for his sake, I hope he wins that shit. This guy's
Matos is good though.
Yeah, no, 100%. I can't not root for Jenna Bishop. She's so nice. It's hard not to root for her. But Watanabe's going to be a tough fight. But yeah, you're right, dude. This card's really nothing to sneeze at here. And Drake Joni. All right. What flag is that? Where's that guy from? You're right. Seeing that flag like that?
I'm gonna take a guess. Angola.
Is it? Let me see.
If I get this, you owe me a couple beverages.
Okay. Well, no, apparently not. The Angolan flag has like a sickle on it. So. Or it's a machete. I don't know what that is. Let's see. Bilson. Oh, there it is. Okay, Andrew Johnny. Where are you from, big dog? Out of Garfield. Oh, he's fighting Albania.
Damn, I was close.
Very close.
Angola, Albania.
All right. Well, there you go, folks. All right. Anything else on this PFL card you want to talk
about? Not much. Yeah.
Okay. What was the other thing? Fuck. All right, whatever, dude. It's PFL. Weigh-ins kicking off what, tomorrow, 9 a.m. Official weigh-ins and ceremonial weigh-ins way later in the day. It will be broadcast everywhere. And then, of course, Fight Night on Friday night. Keep it locked. This man right here will be there on Fight Night, bringing you the best and latest from Orlando, Florida. Not far from Miami, Florida, where Jay Anderson will be bringing you on Saturday all the Fight Night stuff. So,
what do you think of Pico real quick before is this like real? A lot of people are slowly coming out and reporting it that he's going to be in the UFC, Aaron Pico. What do you think of that?
He he announced it himself. It's official. He's part of the UFC now. I think it's a great signing, and I think it's on time. You remember back when he was coming out of wrestling, talking about wanting to fight MMA. Everyone's like, go right to the UFC, go to the UFC. He went to Bellator instead. Slightly, that was a sneaky good move, right? Built himself up, fighting well. Now, I don't know about giving him more of our Evloev, and I know Evloev already said forget that, we're not doing that. But I could see Pico getting a big fight off the rib. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Evlov's going to be a tough test, but what they're thinking, I think they want Evlov beaten. And this guy was a former junior Olympian, I believe, cadets or whatever they call that. It's going to be hard for Evlov to take him down. And if he can't take him down, this guy's got punching power, one punch knockout power. He just ran into guys who had too much experience too soon. He got knocked out by Henry Corrales. He got knocked out by Adam Boric. So there's a couple guys that he ran into had a little bit more experience than him when he was 23, 24, 25 years old. I believe, Eddie, he's like 27 or 28 now. He's right in the prime of his career. This is Aaron Pico's time to shine. I hope he gets a good matchup coming in here. Of all the Bellator guys who have came over in the last couple of years, Michael Chandler, Patricio Pitbull, all these guys, I think Aaron Pico's got the highest potential of any of them to come in there and actually win a world title, whether it's 145 pounds or 155 pounds. He's going to be a problem for a lot of guys. Think about this. He goes in there against Paddy Pimblett, who's on the cusp of a title opportunity with one fight. Now, I know he's going to come in at probably 145, but that's a very interesting fight if Paddy can't get it to the ground. That's one punch knockout power from Pico, and maybe a winnable fight for him. Think about 145 of who we got. We got Gene Silva, Josh Emmett, Lerone Murphy. We got, potentially Topuria, is in the weight, Volkanovski and Lopez fighting this week. That's the best division maybe in the world right now, and in the company. So Aaron Pico is going to join a stacked 145-pound, 155-pound mesh of fighters. There are a lot of interesting matchups that can be made. Hey,
look, well-rounded fighter and a good dude. So that'd be fun to watch for sure. Yes or no? I think you might have answered this, but yes or no answer. Could he actually? I said you probably already answered this, but yes or no answer on the question, I guess. Aaron Pico can be a UFC world champ.
That's what I said. If any of the Bellator fighters that have came over here, I think he's got the highest potential. But it just depends on who's the champ. I think he could beat. I mean, he could contend well with Volkanovski and Lopez right now, in my opinion.
Okay, hey, fair enough.
But if it's Topuria or it's Islam, those are historically great fighters.
At 55 too would be wild.
Yeah,
that'd be wild. All right, anything else you want to touch on before we call it a night?
That's about it for me. What about you?
That's it, man. All right, appreciate the hell out of you guys tuning in. Next week, Brett will be back in charge on this one, driving the ship. So just a quick programming stuff. Obviously. Tomorrow, weigh-ins for PFL, press conference for UFC. Friday, weigh-ins for UFC, fight night for PFL. Saturday night is and fight night for LFA as well. Fight night for UFC is on Saturday night. All kinds of fights, folks. The gym as much as it could this week because next week, no UFC. Is there PFL next week?
Yeah, there's PFL every single week this month.
They're doing something, folks. So I think it's PFL next week, and I think LFA as well. So,
PFL actually has one of their best cards next week. I interviewed actually Sadibou C and Dalton Rasta. If I could afford to stay out here for 3 weeks, I'd be out here. But I also got to move out of an apartment in Dallas. But Sadibou C fights Dalton Rasta. Mads Burnell returns next week as well. So this is a down card this week for the PFL, but a strong card next week that we'll certainly cover.
There you go, folks. Said him the man himself. We'll break that one down on Tuesday or on Wednesday, I'm sure. All right, for the entire team of Cageside Press, we love the hell out of you guys. Catch you guys on the next one. Have a good night.